Welcome to the second lesson in urban design. Today we'll talk about resilience and urban design. The metaphor of resilience was introduced into the field of urban and spatial planning at the end of last century in the context of studies of sustainable cities. The concept of sustainability has been consolidated in the last 2 decades of 20th century, and today its meaning and objective are widely shared. The same does not apply to strategies and methods to pursue it, on which there is still a wide debate. It is within this debate that resilience is placed as a tool to achieve more sustainable cities and societies. Research, scientific tests, policies and actions have been developed widely in recent years on the subject of resilience, in particular in response to the challenges posed by climate change, which calls into question the absorption and adaptation capacity of urban and territorial systems. The etymological meaning of the word, to be traced in the Latin resilire, which defines resilience as jumping back, bouncing, recalls the idea of a process that brings back to a previous condition after a disruptive event. The resilience comes later in the field of urban and spatial planning and is informed by existing definition. However, the most appropriate approach to the discipline is certainly the ecological one that looks at the city system as an organism in continuous transformation, that is organized as a result of stressful natural or socio-economic event to achieve acceptable level of efficiency. According to the ecological definition of urban resilience, there are 3 main lines of research that describe different approaches and strategies related to resilience and sustainability, resilience and adaptation, and finally, resilience and territorial risk. In the first case, resilience is understood as a tool to pursue the use of energy resource, primarily for hydrocarbons with the impeding peak oil, to deal with which resilience is conceived as a virtuous model of urban and territorial development. In the third, resilience is mainly understood as a strategy for the response of territories and communities, in particular to natural disasters. In the ecological approach of urban resilience, the systemic vision of the city, within which innovation is produced, determined by external events in the resulting adaptation process, is fundamental. The territory and the city are seen as a complex system in continuous change and not as a stable system. Therefore, the latter represent more an anomaly than the normal condition. Complex territorial systems are made up of social systems and ecological systems that are closely independent and inseparable, subject to cycles of continuous change and adaptation that make the dynamic by definition. Resilience thus becomes one of the tools to ensure the sustainability of the urban ecosystem in the long term. Its characteristics are the diversity of components and resilience that allow the system to absorb exogenous shocks and adapt gradually until it reaches a new condition consisting of innovative interdependent relationship. The awareness of the dynamic nature of complex territorial systems induces, in the ecological vision of resilience, to accept coexistence with change and to develop skill in reading change and adaptive quickly without trying to return to the ideal states of equilibrium. In this approach, in fact, the flexible and dynamic vision clashes with that of maximum efficiency and the process optimization. Very interesting is the idea of transition city, coined by Rob Hopkins, which becomes a model of the resilient city with particular emphasis on the characteristic of diversity, modularity, and feedback. The experience of transition cities, mainly Anglo-Saxon, are based on the collaboration of the local community and bottom-up process, able to generate innovation in social behavior. Resilient and adaptation research also includes studies on urban planning and urban designs that propose functional model of organization in which the building environment remain distinct on the one hand and infrastructure network on the other. Resilience is achieved through the management of the construction and infrastructure system, respectful of ecosystem cycle. A territorial urban system that is resilient to natural hazard must not only be able to prevent and manage calamitous events, but must also try to improve environmental and social quality. Limiting land consumption, especially in areas at greatest risk, prevent disaster and also reduce the social and economic cost of urban development. The resilience of territorial urban system becomes a crucial element in the management of emergency due to calamitous event and must be pursued not only by intervening on vulnerability of goods on display, but also on the ability to self-organize and mobilize the community. Resilience in natural disaster management takes into account the long-term management of the pre-disaster phase with prevention, information, and monitoring policies, as well as the organization of the emergency in the immediate post-disaster phase. Today, we are aware that current and future cities will have to face increasing shocks and momentaneous changes in urban metabolism due to population growth, resource scarcity, and climate change. Similar to living organisms, which, with the growth of the mass, see their corresponding metabolism reduce exponentially. So does the city, as a large organism whose vital networks are made up of infrastructure, transport, energy, electricity, water, sewage, is following the same approach. In terms of physical design of the city, urban compactness is suggested to be pursued through concentration of medium-high density settlement near transport nodes. Resilient cities must be based on an integrated metabolism that brings together the different urban functions, energy, transport, waste management, making the city a living machine, able to reduce per person energy consumption. The current infrastructure networks were very often designed and built in the 19th century according to an approach that separated the different functions, and in the following decades, although in the growth in renewal of the urban fabric, the logic has remained the same. The integration of networks is an innovation in the functioning of the resilient city, helping to create an integrated metabolism. Thank you very much for your attention.